Hello everyone, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Allison.
And this is Nerd of the Week, a randomly generated fandom podcast.
Yes, it certainly is.
I'm trying to get more and this is NPR with my voice every time I come in with that.
I'm sorry, I am not helping.
No, please call me out on it, it's funny.
I was holding in my laughter from before we started recording.
When I was yelling at Audacity.
We were not on the same wavelength there. I'm sorry. Would you like a take two?
Nah, we're good.
Okay. I'll try and be serious next time, I promise.
Yeah. I don't think that's the point of this podcast. It's okay.
Nerd of the Week, not a serious podcast.
Nerd of the Week. Two idiots spew words at each other for roughly an hour at a time.
Spew words at you, the listener, as well.
That's true.
You're not immune to the you're in the splash zone.
Yeah, it's true. You are in the splash zone. Generator, would you like to splash these beautiful words of the week at us?
Splish, splash, I was getting a word.
The word of the week is legend.
Legend.
Ooh, that's fancy.
No, I don't know where that came from.
I want there to be an Imagine Dragons songs that says something about legends. I'm sure there is, and I just can't think of it, but I know there's like, we could be immortals, which is like similar.
Uh-huh. Isn't it Legends? Isn't there a song called Legends?
No.
No, they're just...
It's warriors.
Warriors.
We are the warriors. Mm-hmm. Something.
Built this town or something?
Yeah. We are the warriors that built this town.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I guess we should have put a noise warning on this too.
Slightly off pitch or off key singing warning.
Sorry.
Fair warning, we sing here. All right. I have the definition of Google pulled up. The definition of legend pulled up on Google.
Okay. Let's see. I think Google thinks that a legend is a old story or widely held belief of a certain culture.
Okay.
Or alternatively, a very well-regarded person in a given profession, particularly sports.
All right. Fair enough.
And I think that is what I have.
All right. Deal. So it gives 3 different options for legend as a noun, and then one as an adjective.
Oh, okay.
So,
wait, is that like legendary?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
But like the adjective one is like very well known, like he was a legend at whatever. Or
Yeah, I tried to get at that one.
yeah. So I think that one's fair.
Okay.
The others are a traditional story, sometimes popularly regarded as historical, but unauthenticated, i.e. like the Legend of King Arthur.
Sure, okay.
An extremely famous or notorious person, especially in a particular field, which I think you covered.
Yeah.
And then the one I didn't think about, an inscription, especially on a coin or medal. So, like the legend with like on a map or something.
Yeah, I actually kind of thought about that one while I was coming up with something to bring.
Yeah, no,
it did not come to fruition, but I forgot about that until now. Yeah,
me too.
Woo.
So,
actually, I think I hit the high points, but I didn't say it in the same words as Google did this time.
Yeah, but I think you got the vibes.
That's all we care about here, vibes.
We're just here for the vibes.
Perfect.
And then in classic, I have to point out the image that it gives me.
Yes, tell me. Describe this image on the audio podcast.
So it is a blue, it looks like a PowerPoint slide. And I think it's like if you named your kid Legend, but it's a picture of a baby, just an outline, and just in yellow it says the word legend.
Is it a meme?
No, it looks like, I'm going to click on it. Yeah, it's the name origin, like behind the name kind of thing.
Oh, okay. I didn't think legend was a name.
Well, with the thing I brought, yes. Legend is a name, but I just
Okay,
assumed...
well, let's jump right in, I guess.
I just assumed that this was because they wanted it to be like that, but I guess it could be a name. I don't see why not. So with that actually rather good segue, I'm bringing Caravel.
What?
Caravel? I think it's Caravel. Caraval. It's a book by Stephanie Gerber. And it... Let me see. I don't remember when it was published. I just found it, and I was like, ooh, this looks good. And that's usually how I pick up books. As I walk by, I like the cover, and I steal it. And by steal it, I mean pay for it. But
purchase it so that the rightful author gets all of their funds that they need from it. So that was a poor way of saying that.
So this was written in 2017. And the author is like, I liked her like ending. I don't know what you call the thing at the end of the book. Not the index, but just like the extra stuff that you put at the end of the book. Cause the
epilogue?
It's more of just like her notes and stuff. Cause she made a playlist and like has like a straight up playlist for her song or for her book. And I think that's really cool. I know people will do that on like Spotify for books where they'll come up with a playlist that like fits the vibe, but she like specifically had this in mind. And for her, the Fall Out Boy Centuries kind of inspired the vibes of this book.
Okay, that's another song that I was thinking of that I wanted to have legend in it.
Well, that one does, because it's some legends are told.
Oh, you're right.
That's right at the beginning.
Some turn to dust or to gold, but you well remember me for centuries.
Yeah. do 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 do. But at the end, she was just like, this is the vibe. And so like each area in her books, or in this book, she's got like a little bit of a playlist, which I think is rad because I always make playlists to things, or like when I'm writing D&D campaigns or characters, I have like Spotify playlists for them. So
I have Spotify playlists for all the different moods. I'm right there with you. I love this already.
So it's definitely like young adult fan or like fiction, and the beats are kind of predictable, but on the whole, I really enjoyed it. There are 2 more in the series. I think the next book's called Legendary, and then I don't remember what the last book's called, but I know like 80% sure it's a trilogy, but I have only read the first one.
If I owned a cow, I would name my farm the Legendary.
Oh my god. That is amazing.
I am so sorry to interrupt, but when you said that, I'm like, wait, dairy?
I had no way to predict how that sentence was going to end, but I love it.
I'm so sorry to interject. I promise I'm listening. Please continue with your synopsis.
No worries. It's all good. So we start off with some letters to a caravel. So caravel is like this moving carnival that goes from I believe this is all set in like a different universe, so it's like a different planet, and they like have vague mentions of like different cities and stuff, but that doesn't really play a huge factor in it other than like trying to just establish that this isn't our world. But it starts off with Scarlet, who's our main character, writing to the Caravel Master Legend, who that's his name, about how she really, really wants to go, but they had stopped doing it because someone had died at the like 7 years ago from right now. Someone had died at the last Caravel, so
you don't want that.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna have butchered the name of this book, but the last I'm gonna keep calling it Carnival because
just pick away. We'll know what you mean.
But so that's like the first like 10 pages is her different letters, and then her last letter is talking about how she's not going to be able to write to him anymore because she's betrothed to be married, and that's the time that he responds back.
Aw.
And so,
what a loser.
Yeah. And then so he sends her a like a ticket and then an extra one so that she and a friend can go. And so Scarlett has a sister, I believe younger sister, named Donatella. And she is stoked. And so she's like, oh my God, he finally wrote back. I've been doing this for 7 years. But like, she's also kind of like a little bit on the fence because now she's supposed to be getting married to some like distant count she's never met because her father basically sets up this marriage for funds. And
what is it with you in books where the daughters are married off?
I don't know. It tends to be like the beginning of a lot of heroine stories where the daughters are supposed to be married off.
The adventure.
Yeah, or where it's like a bad choice or a bad plan, and then they run away and do something else.
Okay,
I think it's just more of like a trope that ends up in like heroine fantasies. That is, I neither hate nor love. They just tend to be there.
Fair. Okay.
Yeah. This one is because her dad's a dick. He's not a good guy. It's implied abusive, and then definitely like holds each sister hostage against each other. Like, if you do something bad, I'm gonna hurt your sister. So like,
oh my,
yeah. So he's a total douchebag. S tier level jerk, deserves everything horrible coming to him.
Okay.
And we kind of see this when Scarlett's going to try to find her sister to be like, hey, I got these tickets. Maybe we could sneak out and go to the carnival before I get shipped off to obscure island here and get married to this guy who supposedly, like, she's like, well, he writes really well, because Donatella has been trying to convince her not to go because she's like, he's just writing sweet letters. And then the second you're married to him, he's going to be a jerk. Like, this is our dad is not a nice guy. There's no way he's friends with this guy that is also a good guy. So Donatella's been trying to find a way to get her sister out of this situation, and Scarlett's just wants out of this island. So they're on like this kind of like tiny port community, and she just wants out. So this at least is not here kind of situation. And then she finds her sister making out with a guy in the basement of their shop ? I think so.
Well, that's not allowed, I'm pretty sure.
Right. And this guy's name is Julian. And so she's like about to tell her sister about one thing, and then she finds Julian, and then she's like, he needs to get out of here before our dads show up. And then naturally the dad shows up, and then Julian kind of witnesses what happens and just like gets like chased out after he like punishes Donatella for it. And Donatella had been trying to set up Julian because Julian came in as a sailor, and it was not uncommon for Donatella to like go hang out with the sailors.
Oh, scandalous.
Exactly. And so he was like, well, your father's a dick. Why don't I like take you to Carnival? Because one of the things is it's kind of like set up like an escape room where there's like puzzles and stuff that you can choose to be a part of or not, and if you solve it, you get a wish, and like capital W wish, magic spell kind of thing.
Okay.
And so he's like, well, why don't you go there, and then you could wish you and your sister free. And so Scarlett's kind of on the fence about it for a little bit, but then she's like, I should just go get married and like #trauma. And then her father finds out about her friend Philippe, who has been nothing but a gentleman and is just her friend. And he legitimately kills him in...
oh no.
Like, because he's thought Philippe was like sleeping with Scarlett, which was not true. And so Scarlett is like shocked that this happened, and then Julian and Donatella more or less kidnap Scarlett from the situation because it's implied that her father was like gonna try to like lock her in the like a tower situation before she gets shipped off to go get married to this guy.
Okay.
So they mildly drug Scarlett and then kidnap her, and then Scarlett has a dream about Legend, and it's kind of like really weirdly described, but it's more or less implied, and then like as the book goes on, Legend fell in love with a woman named Annalise, but she was the one girl that said no to him, and so Legend thought you could obtain your greatest wish with the power of magic. So he like discovered a bunch of actors and things like this, and then he thought if he was just like the best guy ever, then Annalise would want him. And then so she like wakes up thinking like, that's silly, why would you do all this for a woman? And I'm thinking, have you seen a lot of history, dear Scarlet? But that's okay. So Scarlet wakes up and she's on this raft with Julian, who's like rowing her to the island where Caravel's going to be held. And she's like, what is happening? And Julian's like, don't worry about it. Like, your sister's already on the island. I'm going to drop you off. We're going to have a good time. And then Scarlet is like, well, can we make it look like I was kidnapped so that I can still marry the Count and like not be in trouble, because she's still #trauma at this point. Mm-hmm. And Julian's like, why would you want to go back? But sure, I can be like, yeah, I kidnapped her or something. That's going to end well for me. And at this point, for reasons I don't understand, the raft starts to sink, and Scarlet almost falls into the water, and because she's in this like big ridiculous dress and a corset, she can't swim, so she's drowning, and Julian cuts her free, and then like of her clothing mostly, and then like swims her to shore. And so they don't enter at the entrance. They enter at this place called the Clock Shop. And so...
Sounds like a problem.
Yeah, and he tries to make like a deal with them, and he's really suspicious, and it kind of sets the tone for Caravel, where it's like everything is not as it seems. Like, if it wasn't already obvious, like just from reading, like, this man's name's Legendary, and he's over here being like really suspicious, and then suddenly this thing happens, and okay. So the clock guy tries to get Scarlet to agree to sell, I think it's like 1 year of her life for something. What? And and what's fascinating, and I kind of like it as like a villain ploy, he's like, okay, so you're gonna fall asleep and then I'll wake you up in a year. And she's like, I thought it was going to be at the end. And he's like, yeah, most people do. But like, what good is at the end of your life? I need that year now. And I liked that kind of twist on the like, take 1 year of your life thing. And she's like, no, I'm not doing that. So
too late now.
So he was kind of doing the like, will you shake a portioner's hand situation, like, hey, I can give you these things if you agree to this. And Julian's like, don't trust this guy. And so she finally like goes, no, not a good idea, and like backs off. And he comes up later, obviously. But she thinks, while she's like in this like kind of like overwhelming, too many things going on, because the clock room is like literally there's a clock on the floor, there's clocks on the walls, it's just like overstimulating. She thinks she sees Donatella at the door to the clock shop, and so she takes off running after her, and she abandons Julian at that point, who's trying to warn her that not everyone in Caravel is what they seem, and like don't trust Legend. And the other rule is you can't be out in the Caravel grounds unless it's between certain hours. Otherwise, there's like this beast creature that kind of like chases people and possibly eats them. I don't really know.
Why is this a fun place then? I don't understand.
Because if you win, you get a wish. Like, it's more of like the desperate way out, but like a gambler's, or like that gambling gambit.
Okay.
But you can also just go to watch people play. So if you're like well off or you're friends with Legend, you can just go and hang out in the theater and then they watch the players. Or you can partake in vices and things like that. So there's the other side of it too. But it's very Fey realm.
Okay.
which is my vibe.
Fair.
So Scarlett gets to the hotel called the Serpentine House, and Legend gives her, or she gets to meet Legend at this point, and he gives her an envelope with the first clue to the beginning of the story and the beginning of the, like, if you want to wish, here's how you start doing stuff. And then he gives her a dress that changes colors based on, like, what day it is, which is kind of neat. And it's like this big, ridiculous, like, flouncy dress, but it can also be, like, if she needs it to be, like, a smock or something, it can turn into that. And I'm like, that
Wow.
is...
I need that
right?
in my closet.
I was like, that is so handy.
That is what we need. None of this fast fashion.
Yeah. Just one outfit that just
anytime
turns
fashion.
into what I need for what I'm doing. That sounds great,
Yeah.
right? So then it becomes a kind of mess of Scarlett trying to figure out stuff. And the Legend, in the way he's playing this game, makes Julian play as well. And it's implied that, like, Julian owes Legend something. And so, like, there's definitely this animosity between Julian and Legend, and he's not just a sailor. And it's implied that, like, he was sent to go get Scarlett because Legend had sent her tickets, and you don't turn down the offer from Legend. And so, like, you kind of get the...
But she's the one who wanted
She
to go.
did, but she was also on the fence about it because of the count. And she was like, well, I'm supposed to go get married in 3 days in the situation. So Legend was like, nope, you're going because I sent you tickets and you have to come. So they get to the point where Julian's supposed to act like her husband or her fiance or something like that, but basically, like, with her, partially to protect her from other contestants, but also I think Legend's also messing with Julian. And so the first night, Julian and Scarlett get into a fight, and Scarlett decides she's not sleeping in the same bed because there was one bed trope happens a lot in this, series.
No. Oh no.
So she goes outside, and he's like, no, you can't be outside after midnight, kind of situation, and, like, pulls her back in, but then he gets trapped outside, and so he's stuck overnight out where you're not supposed to be. And Scarlett feels bad a little bit, but she also doesn't know, like, the stakes yet. So, and she's more worried about finding her sister, who's supposedly checked in. And so she goes to the clerk, who's like, yeah, but I can't tell you what room she's in. So Scarlett kind of goes hog wild and tries to, like, break into a couple of rooms to figure out where her sister is. And then the morning comes around, and Julian comes in, and he looks, like, ragged, like he had a bad night because, like, he was running basically from the whatever, like, demon creatures out there. And he tosses her a key with with her sister's name on it. And so it gives her what room Donatella's supposed to be in. And Scarlett, like, knocks on the door, and she hears Donatella's voice, but Donatella's like, don't come in right now, I'm busy. And then she hears, like, a young man in the room with her and being, like, scandalous noises and stuff. And Scarlett's like, I cannot believe I came all this way for you to just be, you know, flirting and being raunchy and all this. And, like, so she's pissed. She ends up hanging out in the hallway for a while because she doesn't know what to do herself. She runs into two other players, Dante and Valentina. Dante is a little creepy and a little aggressive, and he's like, you can sleep in my room. And Scarlett's like, I literally can't. And he's like, well, at least come to dinner with me. And she's like, no, I have a fiance. And so I think she ends up just sleeping in the hallway, like, out of pure stubborn pride, which, like, share the damn bed. Like, it'll be fine.
I don't know. Weird guy versus hallway.
I mean,
I
but,
don't know.
like, Julian has been nothing but a good guy so far. Dante, don't go to the
Okay.
bed with him. Absolutely not. But Julian feels like we could just, hang out. But fine. It's fine.
Fair.
So then Scarlett in the morning hears like her sister's door open and close, and so she goes into Donatella's room and finds that the whole room has been ransacked. And so Donatella was the first clue to Caravel this time around, and the other contestants have like pulled apart everything and were looking for stuff. And a random guy grabs her earrings because she's in there saying, stop like ransacking my sister's room. And they're like, oh, she's your sister? You must have the clue. And then they're really aggressive. And then she is just like distraught and realizing that there's like ridiculousness happening. And this point, Scarlett figures out that Dante, the guy who's like, you can stay in my room, had realized that she was their sister. And so he was just being like a sussy asshole about it. And being like, I can just use you to get to your sister, and then I can win the clue. And then we go into Scarlett realizing that the clue's somewhere in the room, and then we keep going. And so there's all these different like tests and trials and various puzzles that Scarlett has to figure out throughout the rest of the book that I think it's worthwhile reading because the plot twists are fun. And so hopefully I've set up enough of a, like, you should read this because it's good. And honestly, like, this book alone, like, I haven't read the other two, but, like, this book alone was a nice, like, succinct, and it ended really well that, like, I don't necessarily think it needed a second or third book. Like, it ends with a couple of, like, cliffhangers. Okay. Where, like, Scarlett gets toward the end and she's starting to have her happy life, but like what happened to Donatella, like what more about Legend, because he kind of like is peppered in throughout, and so he's definitely like an interesting character that would be worthwhile exploring. But also you can read the first book and be like, all right, that was a solid story, and then I think the ending is worth reading yourself, listener, because it's fun and I don't listener and I don't want to spoil it because it's pretty great. So that's my highly recommended, with the first half of the book summarized, Caravel.
Sounds good. I like.
But
there's lots of intrigue.
Yeah. Intrigue and mystery. Like, there's definitely some beats that are a little slow. There's definitely, I think this might be her first book, or one of her first books, but it's solid. I think it could have used a little bit of editing.
But I mean, really, what can't?
Right, exactly. And there's also a couple of beats that are kind of never really explained, and maybe that's the point of reading the next couple of books, but would have been nice to be, like, the monsters never really addressed in this book, other than, like, you don't go out after midnight or I'll eat you. And there's a couple of, like, other, like, plot threads that are not quite neatly wrapped up in this book. And some of it's a little predictable based on like some of the like dreams that Scarlett has. Like you're getting a little bit more hand fed to you. But on the whole, I think it's a really solid read, and it's not super long. It's like, I think 300 pages, and it's like big text. So it's a quick read. I think I finished it in like a day and a half, which is fairly quick for me.
Yeah, that sounds like it'd be a nice, quick, concise read.
Yeah, but
that's what I need in my life. I don't have time for 1,000-page books anymore.
Right? I sprinkle them in my life.
Not in the cards.
No, I need succinct, like 1 or 2 series books right now.
Oh, heavens. Well, I like the carnival kind of vibes. Like the spooky carnival kind of thing. I like that.
Yeah.
That sounds nice.
It's fun. I enjoy that aesthetic, and definitely here for the vibes.
Which, as we said before, that's all the podcast really is. Just here for the vibes.
Here for the vibes.
That's all we want. Cool. Well, thank you for that. And I suppose no, you have things to say to the audience before I talk about a quote, yes?
Usually we bring up the quote and then I ask the audience if they know about it. But we can take...
Oh, do we?
We can flip the switch right now and be like, flip the script. Audience, once Allison gives us our quote, listener, you can message us on all forms of social media, and including but not limited to Facebook, Twitter /X, TikTok, Instagram, using the hashtag Nerd of the Week or hashtag NOTWP. And then our TikTok is at Vampire Sheep, sheep spelled with 3s instead of E's. Sheepies.
Every time you say that, I'm sheep. So I actually wanted to play a fun game with you about my quote.
Okay.
And I want you, before I say my quote,
Oh, God.
to guess what my quote is from.
I'm sorry.
'Cause-
Before you say your quote, you want me to guess what the quote is from?
Yeah, so I guess it's kind of like, what quote would you bring? Did we bring the same quote?
See,
Or unless you have zero thoughts on a legend quote.
no thoughts, only vibes.
That's fair.
See, like, I would have probably just brought centuries, and that's what's in my head right now. But
That's fair. It's okay.
the other one would be Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. The legend lives on from the Chippewa on down. For the big lake they call Gitchagumi. Yeah, that would probably have been mine.
Okay, I'm so glad that you brought that up. My mother will be so proud. She always loves to remind me. In 8th grade, we had to do a project about a song that was based on a historical event, and I couldn't think of any, and so she recommended that I do that one. And my history teacher loved it, and I got a really good grade.
Nice.
So she brings that up very frequently.
Nice.
So thank you for bringing that back into my life here.
It's a pretty solid song. It's called The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Epic ballad.
It is an epic ballad. It's like, I think it's like 8 minutes long, but solid music. Not gonna lie, because I went to a school up in Upper Peninsula, because Gitchagumi is Lake Superior, off of Michigan. We definitely like mixed that into some of our like party songs, and we're like, you need to figure out how to dance to this.
I can't imagine dancing to the Wreck of the Edmund.
It doesn't go well, but it's funny as all get out.
That just kind of sounds like you're in a room with a bunch of depressed people slowly swaying back and forth.
Usually you would think so, but we got pretty ridiculous with it. Like,
Okay.
like we would treat it like it was Sandstorm. And it was a good time.
Awesome. Oh my goodness. Well, that makes me very happy. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that image.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, you're going to feel real silly when I tell you my
no,
quote.
I'm ready to feel silly.
Because you could have brought it. And you're going to know what it's from.
Okay. All right, I'm ready.
You ready? You ready to feel silly?
I guess.
Because I sure feel silly.
I'm feeling really attacked right now, and I just came out to have a good time and dance to the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, but that's okay.
I'm sorry. I thought it would be a good game to see if we were on the same wavelength.
I actually kind of like it. I'm
I
into
guess
it.
we're not.
I'm into it.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to make you do it every time now.
God,
No,
okay.
That's a joke. No. Or else we're just going to both be bringing quotes. So
Anyway.
my quote is, and I know you know it, you hear that, babe? We're legends.
Oh. Yeah, I know what that is.
Yeah, you know it. You know it. It was literally the first thing that came to mind when you said the word legend a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So
Heck yeah, I love it.
I assumed that it would come to mind of yours as well. To your mind as well.
That's fair. If I hadn't just been talking about this, though, this book gives the Suffering Game vibes. So,
Shh, the listener doesn't know what the quote is yet.
oh, okay. Sorry, listener. I'll keep talking about it later.
Oh my god. Okay. You already told the people how to contact us, so we're just gonna continue on with me talking at you.
All right, sounds good.
Okay. So as prefaced, I don't remember if we were recording when I prefaced this. I brought something real dumb, real nostalgic.
I think that was before we were recording, but that's okay.
Okay. Well, listener, I brought something real dumb and real nostalgic, and I had to do a search to see if we talked about it already because it's just that iconic, but we hadn't talked about it. So I am bringing to us Twilight.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. I love this already.
Yes, you do. I feel like this is one of the ones where I'm not going to do a complete summary because it's been ages since I've actually interacted with the real media. I have more interacted with the memes. So we're just going to do more of like a meme hot take of it. Does that sound okay?
This is the skin of a killer Bella.
Shh, we haven't gotten there yet. All right. So first off, Twilight. For those people who don't know, it was originally a book written by Stephanie Meyer, which when you said that your person was Stephanie
That's so
Gerber,
funny.
I thought you were going to say Stephanie Meyer.
That's so funny that we both brought authors whose first name is Stephanie.
Stephanie
anyway.
books. I'm also specifically talking about the movie, not so much the book, because it's been
fair.
even longer since I interacted with the book than the
Totally
movie.
fair. Honestly, the movie's more campy anyway, so.
Yeah, it's more iconic. So, quick synopsis. Basically, it centers around a girl named Bella Swan who's in high school, because of course she's in high school. You got to be in high school if you're a sad, depressed teen.
Yeah.
Or else you're a sad, depressed adult.
Yeah, because where else are you going to be as a sad, depressed teen? The mall.
Maybe. So she, of course, she has to have a sad backstory as well. Her parents are divorced. Such trauma. I'm sorry, I don't mean to minimize people who actually have trauma from that, but I don't think her character is very well written to have that kind of trauma.
She's so much of a Mary Sue, but it's fine.
Very pick-me girl main character energy. Since she's the main character, she deserves it, I guess. But so anyway, she moves to where her father is living because her mother was moving to Florida and she didn't want to go to Florida because it's too sunny and she's too pale and she's going to get sunburnt. So she has to move to Washington instead. So she goes to live in this little town called Forks, Washington.
Woo.
And it's close to Seattle, I guess. It's a real place. People go there and people live there. But
Yes.
I mean, we put on the map really because of this. So she heads up there. She goes to high school. First day of science class, she sits next to a beautiful boy whose name is Edward Cullen. And as soon as she sits down, he gets like all prickly and, well, not really, but, you know, cold and standoffish and doesn't speak to her. And apparently, like right before the bell rings, he runs out of the office. Bella has to go, or runs out of the, oh my gosh.
Classroom.
He runs out of the classroom to the office. There we go. Now, Bella also has to go to the office after school to turn in some slip or something that says, like, yeah, I made it to all my classes. Fine. Whatever. You know, new student kind of stuff. And Edward is there in the office and she overhears him saying, like, are you absolutely positive that I cannot rearrange my schedule so I don't have to be with her? And of course, Bella doesn't understand. And she's like, what did I do? I literally sat next to him. What?
It's so aggressive right out of the gate.
Yeah, it very, very weird behavior. And then Edward disappears for a week. And Bella's like, all right, cool. That was weird.
Yeah. Strange boy.
Yeah. She also immediately makes friends with normal people. And the week later, Edward is back. And his 4 siblings are back as well. And they're gorgeous people. Oh my gosh. Everyone is jealous of them. They're so hot. Apparently they're not real siblings. They're all adopted by their father,
Right.
who is Dr. Carlisle Cullen.
Oh, he's so hot though too.
And he's married to Esme, who's also very pretty. And they're like, so apparently they couldn't have kids, so they just adopted all these teenagers. And then it's kind of like a weird vibes that everyone gets from them because they like seem like they're kind of coupley.
Yeah,
Which-
they're all dating each other, which is ick.
Yeah, very ick. I mean, they're not, okay, in fairness, definitely not actually siblings. Also, definitely not actually like adopted. They just live together. But Edward, you know, there's 4 siblings that are dating, and then Edward by himself. He doesn't have anybody to date.
Right.
So, of course, there's opportunity for him to date Bella. Hooray.
Hooray.
And whenever he like is with her, he just like says the most wild stuff. She's like, "Where were you for the past bit?" And he's like, "I was hunting," or something weird like that.
Yeah.
Something very like, "What? Okay,
Yeah.
sure." And he's being nice to her now. Also, she says, "Wait, weren't your eyes darker before?" Apparently his eyes were described as being like pitch black before, and now they're like a very nice golden color.
Also a normal
"No?"
human color.
He's like, no, it's always been like this. Bella's like, I don't know about that. Okay. Bella is then walking through the parking lot, and of course, main character, she has to be clumsy. She has to have a flaw.
Oh, yeah.
So she's so clumsy. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, you wouldn't
Oh
even
my God. Yep.
imagine it. However, that doesn't really play into what happens to her next.
Right,
Because
like,
it's not her fault.
We
but
describe
someone
her clumsiness in excruciating detail, and then this happens.
So some wild teenager's driving through the parking lot, and it's like icy or something or wet, and his car slips and almost hits her.
Right.
It's like, that's definitely not Bella's fault. That was this driver's fault.
Right. He
But
like
out
hit
of-
ice.
Yeah, and out of nowhere, Edward appears, like pulls Bella down to the ground in like protective stance, and then when Bella like realizes she's not been hit by the car but saved, she sees like Edward is there with his hand like up pressed against the car that was going to hit her, and there's a huge dent in it. And she's like, "How did you do that?" He's like, "I guess I'm just real durable and strong. I don't know." No one else saw it happen. They all just thought like the car like stopped and or like hit her truck or something like that, you know, whatever. But she knows, no, Edward saved me. It was him.
It was him.
Just all these weird, creepy things. There's a weird little like aside that doesn't really pertain to Bella's story right now, but her dad's friend is found dead in his house, and it's very mysterious circumstances. Meh, whatever. Adding intrigue to the story.
Yeah.
It's almost prom season at this point, and so she and her buddies, they decide, let's go prom dress shopping. It's gonna be fun. And Bella's like, "Ugh, I don't really like dresses because
God.
I'm the main character."
Your Kristen Stewart is pretty spot on.
Thank you so much. Oh, also, for people who don't know, Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson apparently both hated doing these movies.
Yeah,
And they
with
had to
a
do like 5 of them.
Passion. They literally thought it was going to be this one-off thing that no one liked.
Little did they know. It was such a hit. Let me tell you, this was like the thing in middle school. Like, people carrying around the Twilight book. It was a black book cover with like just a red apple on it, and it said Twilight, and it was like, oh, so mysterious. You're so cool reading that large dark book. Oh my goodness,
You're so edgy. Yeah.
So like, first off, everyone had to read the books. And then I have a distinct memory that my friends wanted to see this in theaters like the day it premiered.
Yep.
And I had a piano lesson beforehand, and they called me multiple times while I was getting out of my piano lesson and driving to the theater. And they're like, "Where are you? It's about to start. We're
Oh my
gonna
God.
miss it. We have to get our seats right now."
Oh my God.
And like, I think this was back before you would reserve seats at the movie theater. So like, it was kind
Back
of
in the
important that
day.
we got them, but
Yeah.
like, they could still save one for me. Like,
Right. Just
whatever.
put a coat on it.
Yeah. So anyway, and it was just like have the preview start. It wasn't even the actual movie.
Right.
And I remember I kept telling my mom, like, "They're calling and they're yelling at me." And my mom's like, "I can't drive any faster." So that's just a core memory that's embedded in me, is that my friends were mean to me when I was trying to get to them to see a movie.
Oh God.
And it wasn't my fault. I had to go to a piano lesson.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I liked piano more than Twilight.
Honestly, fair.
But anyway, that's all aside. Back to Bella not wanting to go dress shopping. She instead goes to a bookstore because that's where the cool kids go. She looks for books on folk legends, which is why I brought this.
Yeah.
For vampires. And she like buys this book at this like Native American store, and the person's like, "Oh, you got a vampire on your hands here?" Just like kind of ominous, like, "Oh, you better watch out." And Bella's like, "Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I'm just kind of interested in this stuff." She has weird suspicions at this point. So she's all happy with her book. She goes walking back, but she doesn't remember exactly where her friends were at. So of course she gets lost. 'Cause
Naturally.
what else is a clumsy girl to do except get lost?
Right. Oopsie poops.
And then apparently there's these thugs that are like coming to attack her, like just out of nowhere, just
For
like,
reasons.
yeah, just like slimy men. Why not?
Why not?
And right as they're about to like grab her, Edward is there again.
Dun, dun, dun,
And
dun.
she's like, how did you know where I was?
Right.
And he says, I can't explain here. Come with me. And so they go to an Italian
Which
restaurant.
is not suspicious at all.
Right? While they're at the restaurant, Edward doesn't eat anything. And Bella's like, why aren't you eating? And he says, I can't eat this food. You know, something that's like cryptic and weird and like the thing that a weird guy would say.
Totally not a human thing to say, but it's fine.
And Bella's like, okay, well, again, tell me, how did you know where I was? And he says, I could hear their thoughts. And she's like, excuse me? You could what now? He's like, I can hear the thoughts of everyone in this restaurant, except for yours.
Yeah. Who are you?
Like, he's all mad at her because he can't hear her thoughts. And she's all like, you're saying some whack stuff
Which is
right
a
now.
totally wild thing to accuse someone of. Like, out of the gate, I'm mad at you because I can't read your thoughts. Like, hello?
Excuse me, sir? So anyway, they finish their little dinner date and they get Bella back to her friends and they're like, oh, are you guys a couple? And Bella's like, no, he happened to be here and there were some guys and like he took care of it. And they're like, oh, okay, sure, I guess. They all don't like the Cullens because they're weird, which fair. They are
Honestly, yeah. They're all...
weird. And then Bella ends up back home, reads the whole vampire book, and she, in the movie, there's like these dramatic scenes of her like turning the pages and like heavy breathing, like, oh my gosh, wow, vampires, they drink blood? Like,
Right.
Bella, come on, you know
Like,
this.
you've never seen
this
a
already.
vampire movie in your life or heard of Dracula. At one point, I think it like the computer zooms in on the word succubus, and it just cracks me up every time.
So then the next day, she like approaches Edward and it's like, I know what you are. And he drags her into the woods. Very
Also totally
fiercely.
normal. Yeah.
Yeah. But like he grabs her hard and he's a strong boy. And she's, as described before, a clumsy, delicate, pale girl. She got a bruise. He gotta be careful.
Right.
But anyway, so they're in the woods and he's like, say it, Bella. Say it. What am I? Like,
Out
again,
loud.
being very mad. He's very aggressive.
He is. He's not a good guy.
No. And Bella's like, you're a vampire. And he goes like, yes, I am. Like all exasperated. He's like, come with me. And he like grabs her and runs through the forest with her.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm stronger than any predator, faster than any wildlife, whatever he's saying.
Yeah.
He's just like saying how intimidating he
Freaking
is and how he's like
flexing.
dangerous.
Yeah.
Like, I could kill anything I wanted to. And then he's like, there's something else you have to see. Come with me. Again, they're still just going deeper and deeper into the forest. They climb up to like this high point in the forest where there's a clearing. And he says, watch this. He unbuttons his shirt and walks into the sunlight. He's all sparkling.
It is the stupidest scene on the planet.
He's like all bedazzled and bejeweled. And Bella's like, whoa. He's like, this is the skin of a
I
killer,
kill you,
Bella.
Bella? It's my
Do
favorite.
I dazzle you?
It's my favorite. Oh, God.
And he says something like, doesn't it bother you? And she's like, no, it doesn't. And then he like goes on to say like, your scent is like, I can't stand it. He like, this is the stupidest line. He's like, it's my own personal brand of heroin.
Yeah.
You're talking about the scent of her blood.
Right.
They're not the same.
No.
Not the same.
Not the same at all.
And then he explains why he's like so frustrated that he can't hear her thoughts because he's like, I don't want to hurt you, so I don't know what you're thinking. So you have to tell me what you're thinking. And she's like, okay.
You know, like have
I
a
will.
conversation with someone, Edward. Like,
Yeah.
you know, 2 seconds of just like, hey, how are you? Is this okay? Consent, please.
Not just, what are your thoughts? Can I read them? No? Okay, I can't interact with you. I mean, I guess that's good. He didn't want to like assume, but
I guess.
still.
He's on thin ice.
Yeah, it's questionable. So of course they decide to date. Oh, how cute. And her friends like hardcore judge her like, oh my God, you're actually dating one of the Cullens. They're creeps. But if you're happy, fine, whatever. We're happy for you. There's a bunch of other creepy scenes where sometimes he like apparently sits in the tree outside her window and just watches her sleep.
He's straight up in her room watching her sleep sometimes.
That's right.
He's
Because
just
he doesn't need to sleep.
He's just standing over her, staring at her for hours.
It's so creepy. So creepy. And then one day he decides like, I want you to come meet my parents. And she's like, oh, okay. What do I wear to meet vampire parents? Like, that's her big concern here.
I mean, she's like, what, 18, 16, something like that.
I think 16 at this point, because they have like 2 more years of high school left, I think.
Yeah.
She settles on a khaki skirt and a nice sweater.
Oh, how nice.
How nice. So they go over to his house and she gets a tour of the house before anyone else is home. One of the big things is on their wall, they have this huge mural, or not, it's not like mural, it's just like art, I guess, of all these different graduation caps that are like gradated by color essentially. And she's like, where did you get all those? And he's like, we're literally like 200 years old. We've graduated a lot of times.
Which, like, excuse me, but if I was an immortal vampire who looked roughly 18, there is no way in hell I would keep going back to high school.
Oh,
Are you kidding me?
I'd be so done with high school. Maybe for like the first 10 years after being a vampire, I'd be like, yeah, I can still hang with the cool kids.
Maybe.
But after that, I'd be like, I am way too mature for this now.
Right? I already get people who think I'm in my early 20s as a 31-year-old adult human, and I hate it. Like,
Yeah,
I could
same.
just run with that vibe. I just look younger than I am and just say you're 30. Like,
I mean, that's literally what Dr. Carlisle does.
Right.
Apparently his supposed age is like 23 or something.
yeah, but he's like claiming to be 60 or I think it was like 45 or something. But like,
Yeah.
duh,
Like
God.
crazy. So that's
Anyway,
the first thing that they
triggered.
encounter. Then they get up to his room. This is one of the funniest things. He has like this huge sound system. He apparently is a big music buff and loves listening to music. And so Bella's like, what are you listening to? And just like turns it on without asking permission, which I would not touch someone's things without asking permission.
Especially
but okay.
if they were already an audiophile. I know how those things are. Like, I would not touch without permission.
Anyway, in the real movie, it plays Claire de Lune. What I think is fun is the memes where she turns it on and it plays some random song. Like, you know that song that was going around the internet a while ago? That's
the
like,
Reddit
my money
song?
don't jiggle jiggle.
Oh, yeah.
It
Yeah.
folds. I like to see you wiggle wiggle. You know. And the way the scene is filmed, it's like she turns it on and then like she's like, oh, Claire de Lune, okay. And then it like cuts to him and he kind of like does this weird like little half smirk smile kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the way that it's edited in that one meme, like when it says, you know, he like does it right on the beat. It's my favorite thing. But I've seen it for like a lot of other songs too, and it's just so funny. So that happens. Then it's dinner time. Apparently all the other vampires in the house are in the kitchen, which they don't ever use because they don't cook because they can't eat. So even though they are hundreds of years old, they never bothered to learn to cook, which honestly, I feel like if I were a vampire, even if I couldn't necessarily eat the food, I would still want to know how to cook so that I could
At least, like,
deceive
basic
my
stuff.
prey
Yeah.
and bring it. You know, that's like what they do in the shadows. They bring them in for a dinner party. So like,
Right.
why not actually have a nice dinner party first?
Right,
That's
or
what I
even
would
just
do.
like spaghetti, because that's not hard. You've gone
Paschetti?
to high school how many times and you never took a home ec class? Excuse me?
Like for the number of times they went to high school, they easily could have gone to college.
Right.
Like they could be total Renaissance beings and know everything.
As opposed to high
But-
school, which teaches you the same nonsense over and over again.
Yeah. The way it's done is poor. But anyway,
They're not smart people.
no. So anyway, they are cooking Italian and they're like, Bella, we're making Italian. And they're like, how do you know she's going to like that? And they're like, her name is Bella. Of course she likes it.
Oh, yeah.
So that is Ital. And she's like, yeah, no, that's fine, but I already ate. And one of the vampires, what is it, Rosalind, I think?
Yeah.
she gets
like,
all
prissy one?
furious.
Yeah.
Yeah. She breaks a plate and she's like, I told you. And she hates Bella. She hates the whole idea that like she's a human and in the household or whatever. And Edward's like, no, she was just trying to be nice because she knows that we don't eat food. And like everyone's like, yeah, she's nice, Rosalind. Get to know her.
Yeah, Rosalind is not nice.
Yeah, no, she's not. What's the one who is Alice? Alice is the one
I
who's
love
nice.
Alice.
Yeah, Alice is the only cool character.
Uh-huh.
Like, she protects Bella. She has a cool superpower, which is like somewhat future sight. That's another thing. All the vampires have like their own superpower, essentially. I don't remember what they all are. I don't care.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Jasper's is just be very good at being a Southern fighter. Like,
No, he has something else that's useful at some point. I don't remember what it is though.
no, I need to know. You keep talking. I'm gonna look it up.
Okay, you look it up for us. But yeah, Alice, like, she does not care that Bella is a human. She always asks Bella if she feels comfortable, and she doesn't let her brothers or the rest of her family do anything mean to Bella. So yay for Alice. We stan Alice in this household.
We do.
We are Team Alice. We are not Team Edward or Team Jacob.
True.
Oh, that's another thing. There's also a
Jacob.
werewolf in here whose name is Jacob. And he's a werewolf because apparently that is the Native American heritage of the region, is that they believed in wolf people. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it seems very culturally appropriative. And I don't know if it's real.
And they're also
culture
technically
or not.
shapeshifters and not true werewolves, but they
That's
just
true.
choose to be wolves, which is fine. Like, if I was a shapeshifter, I'd definitely turn into a wolf. But, like,
At least once.
at least once. But, like, yeah, it's a little sussy.
Yeah. So, and he wants claim over Bella. He thinks Bella deserves to have Bella as his girl because they were childhood friends, because their fathers were friends, so they'd met each other in the past. And it's like, why does Edward get to be the boy who has the girl when I knew her first? But he's just a whiny baby. And he is for the entire series.
The entire series, and then his problematic love interest at the end.
Which, I'm not talking about that right now. We're just doing the first Twilight, right? Or the first episode of the series. Whatever.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. There's a bunch of other things that go down, but honestly, I think the beginning part is the funniest part. And I don't really care about like the dramatic ending bit.
Oh, yeah,
Where
no.
basically there's a tribe of wandering vampires who are not, quote, vegetarian like the Cullens are, which by vegetarian they mean they drink the blood of animals instead of humans.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to be killers. It's not the skin of a killer. But apparently this wandering tribe, they're the ones who had killed the guy that we had heard briefly from at the beginning of the movie, which not pertaining to anything. They find it weird that the Cullens are protecting Bella and that Edward loves Bella, and they're like, we're going to kill her. And they're like, no, you're not. And there's this huge thing where they take her back to Arizona where she used to live with her mom, and they convince her that her mom is being held hostage. And she goes to this place, they bite her and she's about to die, but then Edward overcomes his bloodlust and is able to suck out the venom without draining her dry of all of her blood.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
It's so
like this
weird.
huge overpowering moment of like, can he do it or will he kill her?
Right.
And he doesn't kill her. Yay, bare minimum for a healthy relationship, not killing her.
Right? The bar is so low.
And then they are able to defeat the evil vampire with fire, which is great. And then they go back to Washington and they go to prom, and she wears Converse under her prom dress because she's the main character who's clumsy and quirky and unique.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah. But as I said, I honestly don't care about any of the dramatic part of the story. I just care for the meme bits at the beginning.
That's valid.
I also love how serious everybody was about this film in the books. Like when it first came out, and they're like, oh my gosh, like the whole love interest and like the dramatic tension between the vampires and the werewolves. Like, oh my gosh, it's so intense and it's so important. And it's like, nope, it's not. I view this as a comedy now. It's totally, I view it completely differently now. And I'm so happy I do, because I think it's so much better as a comedy.
It's so much better if you just go in thinking it's just a campy, ridiculous movie, because it is a campy, ridiculous movie.
And as I said, there are like 4 other movies.
Yeah.
The next one is Breaking Dawn. No, New Moon, Eclipse,
and then Breaking
Dawn.
Dawn, part 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Because Harry Potter was... Yeah.
Yeah.
They had to be like
back
Harry...
when they wanted to spread it out as much as possible.
Be like Harry Potter and have a part 1 and part 2 to your last movie.
Yeah. Oh, actually, something interesting that I will briefly bring up from the subsequent movies, I believe, because I don't think it's in this one. But Michael Sheen plays one of the big head ancient vampires.
Oh, yeah, he does.
And that was like how he got into fantasy acting and why he now plays Aziraphale in Good Omens.
Really?
Yes.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So I guess thanks to Twilight, we have Good Omens.
You know, that's not what I was going to expect that we got out of Twilight, but I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, I'm not mad at it. Of course, we also have 50 Shades of Grey, but...
Yeah, well, you take the wins where you
win
can.
some, you lose some.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Did you find out what Jasper's superpower is?
Yes, he's an empath.
Which is what?
He can feel the emotions of those around them as well as manipulate them according to his content.
Oh, well, he doesn't do a good job of it. He does a real poor job of it. Oh,
Yeah.
he's the youngest of the Cullen vampires, and by that we mean he was turned during the Civil War.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't know how to control himself yet. And so when Bella, she goes to a birthday party at the Cullen house for her, it's her birthday party. And as she's opening a gift, she gets a paper cut, and the one little drop of blood sets off Jasper, and he almost kills her. But luckily, the brothers, who are, of course, Edward, and then the other big strong one is Emmett, yes. Which I always think is funny because I used to work at a zoo where there was a bear named Emmett, and he was big and fluffy. So whenever I hear the name Emmett, I think bear. But anyway, so they're able to fight off Jasper because he's weak.
Yeah. I think Emmett's power is legitimately he's strong boy.
I think so, yeah. Do you know what Rosalind's power is?
Rosalind's is incredible beauty.
That's not a power.
Well, Carlisle's is compassion, so...
Okay, some of these people have character traits and others have superpowers.
You either have a personality or you're Edward.
Yeah. Oh, no. Oh, do you remember what Bella's power is when she turns into a vampire eventually?
She's got
Spoiler
like a
alert.
mental shield, right? That's why he couldn't read her mind.
That's right, yeah.
And that becomes important because
I think she's able to like expand the shield out from just herself to like protect others around her.
She can make like a mental bubble because the little evil one, Dakota Fanning. Yeah. Her power is to just make you feel incredible pain. So she's able to be like, nah. And then so she can like help that later.
But that's all spoiler alerts for the subsequent films, which maybe we'll bring.
One day,
I'm leaving
maybe.
it open. I'm giving us more material to use in the future in case we need to.
Fair enough.
So that was The Legend of Twilight.
The Legend of Twilight.
10 out of 10.
We'll
Don't
live on.
recommend.
I mean, unless you want to have like a ridiculous movie night with friends.
Yeah. It's definitely a movie to scream at. It's not a movie to enjoy.
Yep.
Well, I had a lot of fun talking about it. Thank you for indulging me.
Absolutely. I am always here to rag on Twilight.
Perfect. All right. So now, before I say my quote again, do you want to guess what it's from?
The Adventure Zone? Because it's Loop.
It sure is. It is Loop.
I love Loop.
Yes. Loop is a lich, and she talks to Barry Blue Jeans, who's also a lich. She says, "You hear that, babe? We're legends." That's like in the finale, I believe.
Yeah.
Or close to it, at least.
Yeah, it's right after the Voidfish, like, gives the song or whatever. And so, like, everyone knows what Trace Horny Boys have done.
Yes. Maybe eventually I'll bring all of the Adventure Zone. You could bring some arcs of the Adventure Zone too.
I
Between
could.
the two of us. I'm not going to force you to. By all means, do what you wish. This is not a command, I promise. But it's not just for me to talk about.
Fair. I do love the Adventure Zone. It's amazing.
Yes. All right, cool. That's all I have. That's all, folks.
What do we do
This
now?
has been a very musical episode for us.
We've been singing a lot. There's been a lot of Stephanies in this one too, and I don't know how I feel about it. Usually I'm the
that's
only
re-
Stephanie.
Yeah. Hey. I don't know why I hadn't put that together, but yeah, there you go. Listener, if your name is Stephanie, please tweet at us. No, don't tweet at us. Please message us in some other way.
Yeah, just say hi, I'm Stephanie on our like YouTube channel or something.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah, right on. Join the Stephanie
All right.
army.
It's not a pyramid scheme, but it is an army.
Yeah, well, you know. My mom said I would always do good things. Generator? I think that's what I'm supposed to do now. Will you let us know what we rolled for our next word?
The next word is echo.
Echo. Echo.
Echo. Echo. Echo. Echo.
Okay. You know, I think I have a really old take for this one, and I'm kind of excited about it.
Nice. I don't know exactly what I'm going to bring yet, but that's okay. We'll come up with something. I'm excited to hear what you have.
Yeah, I don't know how many people remember this, but oh god.
Wait, don't. Are you just teasing it, or you're not going to reveal
I'm just
it
teasing
right
it.
now?
No.
Okay.
I'm just teasing it. But like, it's just sudden nostalgia for me. So like, I'm having like a good vibe at the moment.
Nice.
But
That's what we're all about. We're all about the vibes and the vocals today. Got to get that singing out.
yeah. Please tell us how many times we said the word vibe in this podcast, and how many times we
Oh my
say
gosh, on the YouTube, we should put up a vibe counter.
a vibe counter. You know, I might.
That'd be cute if you have time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway.
This we're at the end of the podcast, I presume. Thanks for tuning in and listening to us. And if you've enjoyed or we've given you any form of chuckle or nostalgia feelings with Twilight,
Or good vibes.
or good vibes, feel free to share with a friend, because that's how podcasts grow.
So with a friend.
No friends.
I'm so sorry. I promise I'm not making fun of you.
It's okay, I have a lisp. Marriage is what brings us together today. Anyway, thanks for listening. As always, I've been Stephanie.
And I've been Allison.
And this is Nerd of the Week. Not a pyramid scheme, but maybe a Stephanie army.
Yeah. Okay,
Bye.
goodbye.